Rita Maran will be teaching women's human rights. And Rita.
Thank you very much, Susan. It's a pleasure to be back with you again on a subject that I think people will take for granted that they understand about. I'm going to start from a basic principle that after World War II, the countries of the world, the governments of the world, determined it would not happen again. We have seen the argument against that in the facts of life that we're living with today. But at that time was formulated a new way of approaching the individual's substance and dignity on this planet. And that's only since 1945 that we've had this body called International Human Rights Law, which was helped along in Franklin D. Roosevelt's term and in the work done by Eleanor Roosevelt in bringing into codified form some of these notions of the rights and dignity of the individual. From the beginning, it was noted that there was no distinction to be made between males and females, that everybody, by virtue of being born, has the right to all rights. The course will focus on women's human rights in this, for this reason. It is not designed to be exclusive to men. All of us are living in a world where the argumentation about human rights is right at the top of the priority list, and we have to see how we can break it down. So we can do it according to the rights of the disabled, the rights of migrant workers, the rights of women, the rights of children. So this course focuses on that particular aspect, but it brings in all of the reasoning that has gone into formulating a principle that the individual human being, by virtue of being born, has entitlement to rights. So I've decided to focus into front page stories from the New York Times. That's about as mom and apple pie as you can get in assuring that we know what we're talking about. The stories involve women from different parts of the world and will end with what's happening here in Berkeley. On January 31st, by the way, you're all heartily welcome to attend a meeting of the City Council of Berkeley at the old building on Martin Luther King Way, because there, one of the international treaties having to do with the rights of women is going to be signed, sealed, and delivered into Berkeley Municipal Code. That is to say, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, although not ratified by the United States government, has been used as a basic starting point for insisting that women in the city of Berkeley are entitled to the rights in this treaty. And so that has happened. It's taken since 2004 to bring it around, and you're welcome to celebrate with us on that night at 7 o'clock at the City Council meeting, the fact that women in Berkeley will now have in law the rights that they are supposed to have internationally. Well, so we look at women's front page stories, the question of female genital mutilation or circumcision as involved in women in Somalia, the Afghan women whose growing role in their parliaments speaks to the fact that equality is an important element. In Argentina, a child discovers that her father, her dad, is the killer of her parents. These are all stories from the front page of the newspapers, so you can be sure that they're understood globally. What we'll do is look at each story, break it down into what's going on here. Are these women, and very oftentimes the girl child as well, are they protected in some way? If so, what are the protections? Why are they not in use? If they were all in use, we wouldn't have to be here today talking about the protection of rights. But it's a relatively new notion, so I'm going to ask that you understand that it was not always thus that women and girls were singled out for special attention, and that it's today as a subheading of this body of law in which we see actual progress, the wonderful thing that's happened with women's human rights since Hillary Clinton spoke about them in 1995 and continues to speak today, saying women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights, to make that equivalency, no priority, but rather an equivalency, the rights of all people. We can see the way that women's human rights reflects on what's happening around the world. And if there is, my time is up, if there is a moment when we can say that some degree of advancement of the rights of all people has been made, it can be pointed to most clearly in the area involving the development of the human rights of women. And we can have discussions around, the text will actually be the stories from the New York Times that will be presented to you and online. Look forward to seeing you there.
Great, thank you.